Greetings everyone, and welcome to another live stream. I know we've been doing a lot of like Rococo building stuff lately in my streams, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. You see, I've been trying to work really hard on getting a video done for Legend of Alex here, so I thought I'd go ahead and pop back into my Legend of Alex world. There is some stuff that just needs done. Specifically what we are doing is there are places like these. When I put in the castle town and castle, there were a lot of gaps that needed fixed with the terrain in order to accommodate for it. This little island that I had built was too small, so I basically had to rework the entire edge of this river and that edge over there. And you can see that we have a lot of unfinished textures because of it. So I need to go through, color in the bottom of the river, as well as all of these rocks. There's also a couple of the rocks in here that are just the grass texture. Those don't need to be grass texture. I want to make them rock texture. So that's what we're doing today. Hopefully that is your cup of tea. If not, that is okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get some of my brushes ready to go here. I was debating whether I should, I might go through for some of these spots here and just paint them stone initially, and be a little bit careful about specifically painting with stone and not coloring anything else. And the reason for doing that is then I can come through with the more intricate texture brushes and will have a mask on them that makes it so that way I'm only coloring the stone and not coloring any of my other textures. So that's what I'm going to do first, is just make a stone brush. I'm always weird. I like to make the brushes, the actual tools that I use, at least somewhat associated with what I'm actually going to be painting. So we're using a stone sword in order to be painting some stone. I don't know if I need to get rid of, I think I need to get rid of these bushes first, or else it's going to interpret those as just a regular block. But let's go ahead and say we want to have a brush that is a sphere, and this sphere is going to just be stone, and let's give us a size of 5. So, oh, hi Sue! Thanks for coming to the stream. Happy to have you here. Alright, so if we want the size to be 5, I might actually lower that to 3 now that I think about it, because this embankment isn't that big and I don't want to accidentally color things that I don't want to be colored at this point. And then I can come through and say I'm going to mask everything except for air and water. I think I just need a comma between the two. Yep, there we go. So I don't want to accidentally color the water either. Yeah, 3 was the right size for a brush here. Just going to do this. I have to be really careful around this wall. I might actually go through and instead of using the paint tool, I might just go through and manually change those ones, just because I really don't want to accidentally destroy the texturing on my wall. Admittedly, some of the texture towards the bottom, you can see it gets a little bit repetitive. It's because I took an existing section of the texture and then I did the stack tool in MC Edit that just basically takes that and stacks a couple versions of it, and I did that down, and then I tried to kind of hide the fact that it was repeating the texture all the way down, but there's a couple of instances that you can still kind of tell. I was doing that just to be a little bit faster at doing the texturing for a part that nobody's going to really care about. One of the problems though is you can see that some of my muddy texture blocks are facing the wrong direction, so at some point I have to select the entire thing and just do a replace command that is replace muddy stuff with more muddy stuff. So I know it's a little bit hard to tell right at the moment. Oh, I kind of want some of that to be grassy embankment. Do I want the grass to come all the way down there? Yeah, I think I do. So I'm actually going to undo some of this. Undo 5. Undo 5 again. Yeah, so I think I'd want that to be stone with then the grassy embankment coming down. And what I should do is replace some of this up here. And this needs to be replaced as well. This one I might need to be a little bit more creative than just spamming moss everywhere. Just kind of texture on the fly a little bit here. I don't want too much of the, there we go. I don't want too many of the brighter textures there because that is in kind of a little divot there. Alright, so that pretty much covers that. I think I need to do some of this as well. It looks like I started having some of it, but I let that grass texture just hang over a little bit too much. So we're going to modify that as well. These can also be... Oops! No! Yeah, don't want to color my castle walls. So how's everybody's Saturday going? Today I actually have family in town, which is kind of nice because it's my parents and they tend to be more willing to watch my kids a little bit, so hopefully I can have a little bit more free time here to work with you guys. Oh, by the way, can you tell that there's anything different about me as I'm walking around this world? It's a little bit hard to tell, and I think that's a good thing, but let's see if you can tell still. Maybe you can't. Maybe let's walk up to some of these blocks here. Do you notice an issue with me right here? I am actually bigger than your standard Minecraft size should be. The reason for that is actually why I am planning on, this is what I'm making a video on currently, is I'm adjusting things with my scale when I'm in the game. And the reason for that is because I build too big. Sums it up pretty well. And I was especially noticing it, and I talk about this in the video itself, so once that's released, well, done and released, you can watch it. Hopefully it'll get done in the next week or so. I've already started on it, so there's not too much to do on it. But, you know, I was looking at, well, how's my villager look in this house area? And he just looks itty. I realized that that's how all of the entities, including the player, looks when compared to the size of my builds. Can we get out of here? Shoot! Go away! Shoot! So, yeah, that's been a fun thing, but it's also meant that I've been trying to mess with command blocks, and I do have a somewhat functioning door here. Haha, look at it, isn't it great? Hello from Germany! Hi, Flying Shadow Pixel. I am working on my Legend of Alex world. So, if you haven't seen any of my videos for that, it is my Legend of Zelda inspired adventure map that I'm trying to make in Minecraft here. It's been slow progress, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that when it's done, it'll look really cool. It will eventually be a functional Legend of Zelda game, is the goal. Anyway, I need to go through, some of these rocks need colored as well, so I need to go through here. So as I explained already to people, essentially I had to redo some of the terraining after putting in the castle, and it's left these large sections rather untextured. So if you compare the untextured rocks to, well, let me go over to some of my rocks that are textured. So you compare my textured rocks over here to then my untextured rocks, there's a big difference, and so I'm trying to fix that. That is the goal for today, is to get all of that fixed. So something that's going to be nice is once I get all of the texturing done, I'm going to be doing a video that's talking about making custom trees and then putting all of the foliage into my world here, and then all of the terrain stuff is done. Mostly. The problem is that then I still have other builds I need to implement, and I'm sure that there are going to be more things I will continue to terrain later, but getting in the trees is going to be a big step towards being able to say, look, I finished all of the terrain stuff. And that's kind of a big deal for me, because I am not good at terraining. For whatever reason, it's not my thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've kind of put Legend of Alex on such a big backlog, and putting things off, is because trying to deal with the terrain stuff has just been a slog for me as a creator. I'm also, procrastinating other things. Like, obviously, I could be working on my Rococo build right now, which is also not done yet, but here we are. Alright, so this is some of the stuff that's already been textured over here, so I don't need to worry about that. Hello! Welcome to the stream! I actually think I need to come in and do a bit of grass texture over here. So, diamond is close enough to the color green. So it's just going to be the exact same brush, but instead of stone, I'm going to make it just grass block, and then I'll come through, or actually, one thing I could do with this one, but instead of doing grass blocks for this one, I think it should be easy enough for me to avoid things, so I'm just going to load up my texture. So I'm going to say schematic, load, grass texture. And then I can assign that to my brush here with a hashtag clipboard. Yeah, there we go. And make sure I have that masked to the no air, no water mask. There. There we go. I could have done the same thing with the stone, but because I'm going to be doing a lot more. With the grass, it's just a flat texture I'm splatting in on top. But with the stone, I'm purposefully trying to make the stone shaded according to my arbitrary point of reference of having the light source face somewhere that way in the sky. Because of that, I need to do that by hand manually. So it was easier to establish that one. But the grass one should be a lot easier to do here. So, yeah. One of the issues I've been coming across with I showed you my working doors over there. One of my biggest issues right now is that while I do have a functioning large-sized door, for one thing, I can't edit it with redstone, so it's an interaction entity that only opens and closes when you right-click on it. But I feel like that's better than having pressure plates everywhere anyway, so I think that one's okay. And honestly, it would be pretty easy to install the redstone that just says, well, if this, put a command block underneath that then runs my clone command, and that's what my door is using, is the clone command. So if I do the clone command and the sound effect thing, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But the big problem that I'm trying to puzzle over and figure out, scratch my head about, is currently when you open one door, all of the doors open. Every single one that's on the map that is facing the same direction anyway. The ones that are facing sideways to it are on a different tag, so those ones don't open. But if you have two south-facing doors, you open one, they both open. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is one of those things that you can already tell that people are going to look at and say, what the why? So, you know, less ideal. How much do I want this stone running here? I kind of want it to cover this. I'm also going to be doing the river embankment texture, so some of that's going to get covered. I think that should be fine. This little strip looks like it needs some grass, though. Grassy, grassy, grassy grass. I always have a hard time distinguishing, and I've talked about this before, I have a hard time distinguishing what should be stone and what should be the grass texture, just because of the way I made all of these textures. It's not like I'm working with 90-degree angles where it goes, you know, here's your wall of stone, here's your plane of grass. I tended to cover everything with too much smoothing, so it looks extra rounded. Oops. And that goes into the category of, I never claimed to be good at doing terrain. And this is why. Yeah, so that's where I'd never know what all to color as grass or stone when it comes to those. I didn't like that last one. You kind of like having just that little bit of stone bleeding over, but yeah, I'm not. It's not the best. It's fine. You think it's beautiful like this? Oh, good. It makes me feel better. I always worry about that, where it's... especially as I'm trying to color in the textures. Where do I put grass? Where do I not put grass? And it did make me feel a little bit better playing through, like, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. There are a couple of spots where it also has some rounded textures, and it just suddenly blends from grass texture into, well, this is now rock texture. It doesn't do that everywhere. Usually it's pretty well defined, but there's a couple spots here and there that's just like, oh, they had the same problem. Yeah, terrain is like my arch nemesis. Terrain and building anything small. I'm so bad at building things in a good scale, which is why I was forced to enlarge the player size for this world. Oops. And, like, I had a build for, like, the castle here that was very obviously more sized for the player. But then I built the castle town, and then it seemed too big for the castle, so then I redid the castle, and now I'm like, yeah, this is the size I want. And then that's when I noticed that every entity that I splat in is just teeny. And, so, yeah, hence the, the other reason why is, trying to walk around the world as Mr. Teeny Dude, was tedious. It was so hard to make it from one end of the world to the other, just like walking to Death Mountain. It still takes me a while. When I'm at the 1.5 size here, I actually upped my speed and jump height to match just a little bit, so that way it's not too crazy. Oh, and I also made it so that way I can walk up the 1 blocks just like a horse can, because otherwise this terrain would be miserable to get through. But even still, it takes me a good period of time, even sprint jumping, to make it to Death Mountain, and it's an even larger hike to get to Gerudo Desert and to Zora's Domain. It will be improved. I'm going to give the player a horse that will also be upped in size, and I will up the speed quite a bit, because I really don't want the players to be like, I don't want to explore anywhere because it sucks to explore places. But you can see I'm making my way to Death Mountain here. This spot here is, I terraformed a little bit. That used to be a bigger mountain, which is why it's kind of, untextured right there. But the reason I flattened this out is because I want to put Elden Bridge here, running behind the Temple of Time. And then once I get Elden Bridge in, then that's pretty clear. On the other side of Elden Bridge is when you start actually being able to make out the details for Death Mountain here. And I think that from here on, it's a decent walk because you have something to focus on as you're walking over here. Hello, welcome to the chat. Oh, building anything diagonally. The pure horror. I'm actually getting better at that. When I was building, like, my first Legend of Zelda map that I tried to make, I purposely put some buildings on a diagonal just to see if I could do it, and they looked terrible. But now I'm getting better at it. Favorite Legend of Zelda game? It has to be a toss-up between Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. They both have their nostalgic classical merit in my world eyes. But yeah, so, sorry, going back to here. You can see I made it to Death Mountain. That was a long time to walk from Castletown to Death Mountain. So, hopefully the horse will make that better, but that was with my speed increased. Imagine doing that without. Skyward Sword is your favorite. My opinion on Skyward Sword was when it first came out, I was sorely disappointed. And I hate to say that because I don't like being, the person that's just like, no, your game sucks. No, I don't think it sucks. But the problem with Skyward Sword was that when it first came out, they were gung-ho about making every little thing as gimmicky as they possibly could. And so every little sword swipe had to be in a specific angle. And I get it, but it wasn't the gameplay for me. The other thing about Skyward, like, I loved the dungeons for Skyward Sword, top tier. The weird tentacle monster boss was a little bit of a letdown, but otherwise, like, the actual dungeons themselves are great. I especially love the time stone stuff. Love it, love it, love it. So it had some really good things going for it, but I didn't love the gameplay aspect of having to swing in specific directions, and it felt like they did that everywhere. It got better as the game progressed, I will say, but especially at the very beginning, it was just like the entire game was built around that. And you'd come across points where the original Wii remotes that they came out with that were supposed to be the high quality, can detect anything for the motion controls that they were trying to hype up, wouldn't work half the time. So you're like, I am slashing that way, but some of the problem was that in order to slash this way, you have to bring your arm over here first. And so Link would detect that as, oh, I'm swinging this way. And then you're swinging the wrong direction and you get hit by the monster. Ah! So that's like my biggest complaint for Skyward Sword was that, and there's some other issues with it, considering it's a game where they gave Link this big bird to fly around in, but then the only places you could fly around in was the matte sky realm, where there was basically, it was as empty as the seas in Wind Waker. So, yeah, that was, those were like my two biggest complaints for the game. Otherwise, story-wise, it was an okay game. Dungeon-wise, it's great. So I can see how lots of people really enjoyed the game. I will say, Fi, or Fi, however you want to pronounce it, is the most obnoxious Zelda companion any game I've ever witnessed. Like, I found her more obnoxious than the ghost Zelda that follows you around in Spirit Tracks. Because at least she had, like, pep and was entertainingly silly. But Fi was just like, you've been playing for a while. Why don't you take a break? I'm going to explain to you. My calculations say that you need to do exactly this to solve this puzzle. And you're like, yeah, I get it. Shut up. Like, people complain about Navi popping up and saying, hey, listen, but at least then you can ignore her and she doesn't say it again. It pops up the little thing, that option to talk to Navi, but beyond the, hey, listen, nothing, you don't have anything. The only two times that Navi stops you are in, like, the first 2 dungeons of the game. She doesn't stop you any other time, and you can just ignore her. But Fi will stop you to stop and give you entire solutions to puzzles that you didn't even ask for, or tell you that your Wii remote is dying and stuff like that. You're just like, okay, I get it. Shush. Those are all of my dampening effects on Skyward Sword. But yeah, so I will always be diehard Ocarina of Time fan and Majora's Mask fan. I will say, though, I cannot stand the 3D remake for Majora's Mask. Ocarina of Time was fine. There were some textured things that I had some disputes about. Some specific ones that come to mind are the end room of the ice caverns that they made into weird crystalline things that just looked odd, and I preferred the original N64 texture for that. And then in the water temple, there are some grates that even in the blurry N64 graphics, you can clearly see that the grates have, like, intricate Chinese temple designs built into them that look really, really cool. And then in the 3DS version, they turn it into a flat grate. And you're like, why? Why did you downgrade the graphics when you are supposed to be upgrading them? But then the Majora's Mask remake, they butchered a lot of it. A lot of the quality of life stuff that just the fact that they made the Zora swimming you have to that made it so you had to use magic in order to do the Zora fast swim is a crime against humanity. Things like that. And then I know that the bosses for the original aren't the best. I think the best original Majora's Mask boss is probably Goat. But I did not approve of the changes that they made to any of the bosses. Yeah, some of them it felt like they changed them too much, made it more of a specific, you have to do one thing in order to actually damage the enemy. It took me forever to figure out how to even damage the water temple. I can't even think of the name. I want to say Barracuda, but I know that's wrong. That's the name of a fish. But, the worst one was definitely the Stone Tower one. And I get why they felt that they needed to change the Stone Tower one, but I just did not like what they did with it. Okay, I need to start actually doing stuff in here instead of yapping at you about things I liked or didn't like about Legend of Zelda games. So the next thing I need to do is actually create the stone textures. Might unassign the current textures. Maybe I'll keep the grass one, but I need to maybe I'll just switch to shovels for everything else. I like to make a gradient of shovels. And blue and that. And I don't think that this is going to be enough to do all of this, but so the idea is I need to figure out what all blocks go into my stone texture. So yeah, that's tricky. The mud is actually part of the water texture, so I need to do a separate one of those at some point. But I think I'm going to do the water texturing last. I'll do the stone texture first. Let me look at a chunk of the stone that's already textured and remind myself of what my gradient is. And then see what I want to do for that. Alright, so I think the darkest block I get, no, it kind of looks like my darkest block is the polished black stone. So my darkest brush here should be something like mostly the smooth basalt. So we're gonna say brush, sphere, and you're gonna be probably 60% smooth basalt and like 10% polished black stone. So then that leaves 30 more, so maybe I'll do 20%. That's not a percent. 20% of, I think that's gray terracotta. Oh, spelled it right the first time. Gray terracotta, and then that leaves 10% for, that's also not a percent sign. Is the next one up tough? Really? Okay, yep, that sure is tough. I'm really worried that that's not gonna be good enough. Size of 3. You didn't know you could do that in World Edit. Yeah, it's been really nice. And then what you can do is you can either say cover everything except for air and water, like the mask that I did before, or you can do something more elaborate, which is what I'm about to do, and I'm going to make a mask of every single block that is in the full spectrum of my stone texture, so that way I am only affecting the stone texture, and I'm not going to end up messing up any of these things. Does that look like that needs to be a rock to you? I think that looks like it needs to be a rock. Where's my stone sword? There you are. Beest thou rock. There. The rest of it can still be grass. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up all of the percentages for my brushes, and then I'll come through and just do the same mask on all of them. That way I only have to type the mask thing once. So this one is going to be mostly so the next one up is the gray terracotta. Oop. Yeah, that one. The 10% is going to be, well, actually, I feel like the percentages might need to change a little bit here for what I was doing before. So maybe we'll do like 5%. That's gonna be a mistake, isn't it? What am I doing here? Because I want the thing behind it. So maybe I'll do... %, 20%. Yeah. So 5% of that, the 20% is going to be the smooth basalt, I think, to make it darker, and then tough. But that's all still the same exact colors as what I have for the other one. So maybe... I'm gonna copy that real quick. Let me exit out. Let me just real quick give this a mask of everything except air. Just to see what this looks like. Let me color on something that isn't already textured nicely, because this is going to be ugly. That is the wrong color. You're not supposed to be gray terracotta. What are you? What did I use? Is that cyan terracotta? It is cyan terracotta. Glad I caught that. Alright. Well, I might try this one, and we'll try it with the cyan terracotta instead. Oh, I'm coloring the water. I was wondering what was going on there. Oops. Forgot to set I set it to not do air, but... So that, I might need to have an extra dark one that I'll come through that doesn't include the tough, but for right now I'll just do this for right now. And, redundant, repeating myself a lot. Alright, so this one, we're going to shift everything. So the main one is going to be the cyan terracotta. Yep. That one. And then the one underneath, the 10%. First 10% is going to be the darker one, so that's going to be smooth basalt. Then you're going to be the next step up, which is tough. And then you're going to be... What comes after tough? Is it just stone? Is it just stone? I was right, it's just stone. Okay. Go me, I remembered. Alright. Next one. This is one of the things that takes me the absolute longest, is trying to come up with all of these percentages. So I apologize if this takes me a hot second to get it figured out. You're going to be tough with just a little bit of the cyan terracotta. And then 20% stone. Ah, get it! And then it's the next one up is andesite. And this white. And then after andesite, it goes to clay. Clay. Yes. And that's the brightest block, isn't it? Which means I have everything shifted over. Whoops. Alright, I'll make the diamond shovel be the brightest, and then, despite the fact that it doesn't match, I'm gonna make that one the darkest. Alright. Sounds good. We'll do that. Alright. What are you gonna be? You're moving up, so you're going to be mostly stone, with a tiny bit of the, what did I just get rid of? Tough? Tough. And 20% andesite, with just a little bit of clay. And then we're going to Roll over, roll over. Alright, and so then this one is going to be the darkest of the dark, which is going to be like 75% smooth, smooth basalt with like 25% of the polished blackstone. There. Okay. We should, theoretically, have a decent texture thing now. Now I need to make the Mask of Doom. That includes everything. So, mask from the bottom is polished blackstone. Next up is smooth basalt. Next up is cyan terracotta. Next up is tuff, then stone, andesite, clay. That should do it. Let me put that on all of these shovels. Alright. Brush set should be done. Alright. So this is probably the core shadow is going to be facing right here. So that's going to be the darkest point of this particular rock. And it's going to get a little bit darker right there. This is when it starts to get tedious. I spend an awful lot of time trying to determine, alright, where's my core shadow going? What are my midtones? Etc, etc, etc. This one, these guys are facing a little bit more this way, so they're actually a little bit brighter, going into more of a flat tone, so they're darker here. I'd say my percentages are working out just fine here. This is going to be more of the core shadow right along there, just that really brief edge, and it's quickly going back into midtones. And brightening up. So I do have a question for you guys. Since I am trying to mash my face against the problem of command block stuff, my question for you is, how many of you know how to do stuff with command blocks, and do you have ideas for me? Currently, the problem, as I've already stated, is that I have an interaction entity that lets you, when it right-clicks, it sends a command and tells it what to do, and from there I can have it do things. However, the only command that's triggered by that is the initial clone command that then opens the door, and then the rest of them are command blocks built off of that are just on an execute command that's just pointing at that same object again. And what it's ending up doing is, oh, this is, sorry, this is on the brighter side of things. So what it's doing is that currently I have it affecting everything. That because I can't seem to detect the one that got right-clicked initially, because I immediately have to clear the NBT data that says it got right-clicked on in another command block, so that way it doesn't spam the commands over and over again. And for some reason, and I have I suppose I should explain exactly what my commands are doing. So the first one detects when it's being right-clicked on, it runs the first clone command to make the door go into an opened state from a closed, interaction entity with the closed NBT tag. but then when after it runs the clone command, then it needs to clear the data from the right-clicked thing, and then from there it runs the sound effect of the door opening, and then it has another command block that summons a new entity that is the opened entity and kills the closed entity that's there. But because of the summoning a new one and killing the previous one, it's just making all of the doors that have that same tag run all of the commands all at once. Instead of, and I need to find a way to have it focus in on the one entity that's been clicked on and none of the others, and I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. So if any of you are good with command blocks, I would love to have your feedback on that. Honestly, I didn't know that there was a such thing as an interaction entity until one of you guys pointed it out to me. Planted Minecraft was the one who was like, why don't you just use a interaction entity? And I went, a what? So, since this is my first time trying to mess with them, that's kind of why I'm a little bit lost as to how to make it work for me and do what I want it to. So if you guys have any ideas or input, I am all ears and appreciate all of what you guys do. I know commands well enough, but I'm not like I can function with them, but I'm not an expert with commands, and there's an awful lot that I don't know how to do with them. Hello, welcome to the stream. Come watch me paint rocks. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing the entire stream here. Last time you were messing around with command blocks was 1.8. That is actually, for a while, was my exact issue. I created the entire... Oh, that's weird. Hang on. I don't like that. Sorry, I found a hole that needs plugged. This random little drop here. Well, I don't need a random little drop here. Yeah, when I was first doing command block stuff, it was back in 1.8 as well. And then I released my original Legend of Steve map, and like maybe a month later they came out with 1.9, and and honestly it's a good thing that they updated stuff, and I'm glad for the updates that they've made. At this point you can do so much more with commands than you ever could back in 1.8. But like going from taking commands that were like you had to have a specific command that was test for, and then that led with a comparator to another command block that then actually ran your command. Going from that 1.8 version to then the execute command stuff was mind-boggling at the time. And again, I can appreciate it for what it is. It was a necessary change, but it means that it's taken me quite a bit of time to get used to commands again. And every now and then I'm just like, yep, I've hit my limit, I don't know what I'm doing. You could hide a piece of heart in that little hole. I'm actually not planning on doing the piece of hearts direction. I'm going more Korok seed direction because my world is so expansive. Similar to the Breath of the Wild thing, sometimes there just has to be more to fill things with, And so what I'm planning on hiding around the world, and this is something I did for Legend of Steve as well, is hiding cookies. And I'm planning on having them be traded in at the Happy Mask shop. So I'm almost doing it as a currency rather than the piece of heart method. I'll probably also have pieces of heart to increase the health, but for the grand majority, things like a random hole in the backside of the castle in a spot that I'm not even convinced you could reach particularly easily, like, because from the water, getting up there, is there even a way up? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. You can make it up that. But that would suck. Who wants to do that for a little teeny tiny, cart piece that might be tucked in a hole that I accidentally left? No, I'm not gonna do that. Oh no! We've seen Voxy 4.0 mod and its terrain editing tools. I think I've seen a little bit. Is that the one where you have like a gunpowder and an arrow? I forget which one that one is. For like the tools that you're working with. Like World Edit is the wooden axe. There was one that was using gunpowder and an arrow. That might be, maybe that was Voxel? Is it Voxy? I don't remember. I've tried it, or at least that one. I don't know if I'm talking about the same thing as you, but, I had mixed results with it. So far the best terraining tool I have found is got to be, Axiom. Just because it's really easy to, put large amounts of stuff down, and they have tools like the ramp tool and stuff like that. I'm not very familiar with it, but I found this to be more useful than any of the other tools that I used. I think all of these I'm just gonna leave as rocks. I might not cover that with grass at the top. Alright. Since then you've also got data packs and stuff. I know, and honestly, for a while I had, Heya It's Soup ended up helping a little, well, I say a little bit, but he completely made a water temple boss for me to use in, here, and he used a data pack stuff, and I went, I have no idea how to make any of this work. But it's absolutely amazing what he did. I think I'd feel more confident showing you a video about what it was that he made, except that I don't understand it, and therefore I always have a little bit of troubles trying to explain things that I don't understand. I'm not comfortable with doing that. And Heya Soup already said that he's not comfortable with talking in any streams or anything, so it's kind of that one's going to be a tough one to maneuver, and he said he needs a big break right at the moment. He was stressing himself out over trying to make bosses for stuff, and I was like, I'm fine with you taking as long of a break as you need, because obviously it takes me 8 months to release a single video, apparently, because that's how long it took me between the last video that wasn't a live stream to the one I posted this last month, and the one I posted this last month wasn't even a Minecraft video. It was, it was my, the music video thing I was making for the Life series. So Yeah, Soup says you're still on Discord if you want to ask questions. So, yeah, I definitely will. I look at the stuff that you made and it's just like, I'm mind boggled. So, yeah, hoping that, I'm hoping that once it gets implemented in the world, that's the other thing, is I don't currently have a water temple in the world yet. I still need to get there, but, yeah, absolutely, Soup, if you want to, if you're willing to keep working, I'm okay with that, but if you still need to take a break, I'm also okay with that. Just so you know, I'm obviously taking my time here, so don't feel like you need to stress yourself about anything. I have no expectations as far as that, so everything you're willing to give is like a gift you're giving to me, and I'm like, holy crap, this is great. So yeah. Alrighty. So, got that, the embankment done, so I'm happy about that. I just need to get this stuff over by Elden Bridge done, and then the stuff in the moat. I'm getting the grass! Some of these, it is a clear point of where the grass and the stone need to be. So I need to make sure I'm getting it properly. There we go. Except that one. You're wrong. You should feel bad. I figure some level of going in and doing it by hand is always going to be necessary, no matter what. Alrighty. Let's see here. It's my light source, so core shadow should be right here. I think that's something that helps me. If you're planning on doing shading, always figure out where your core shadows are going to be first. Core shadows are the things facing completely away from your light source. And then you've also, on the other side, if you were on the other side of this hill, you can work in highlights. This looks like I just kept in the generic tone I had, because that should all be in shadow. Yep. It's all wrong. I think that was the only strip. I must have missed it when I was doing the texturing for everything else. So I initially came in with just a flat stone texture, similar to what I did for the grass. It looked horrible, which is why I've gone through and just decided to manually paint things. There is a way to using the Axiom to do a shading thing that basically does the equivalent of what I'm doing right here manually, but anytime I do it and try to use it, for one thing, it's not intuitive for me because it's similar to like plugging in the individual percentages. If it's not visual enough for me, I'm just like, ah. But then half the time I put it in and it's just like, I would have shaded that, I would have done that a little bit differently. So there's always going to be some level of doing that manually. It's just like the switching blocks around. You gotta also be willing to come in and change blocks individually as well. Many times he had to redo entire portions of builds because copy-paste commands and other world edit commands deleted or messed up my builds. Yeah, so a lot of the history of how many times that it saves the history for world edit, you can actually change that amount in the settings, but you have to know how to do it. And I don't off the top of my head know how to do it, but basically you have to edit the actual world edit files themselves, find the bit that says how many times it saves the history, and you up that number a lot, and then it remembers more. However, when you do that, it takes more memory, so you have to be a little bit careful about how much you up it, or else you start to increase the levels of lag that you get when doing that. But having said that, it's the base, that amount that it gives you to start with is kind of terrible. So, yeah, I can see how somebody who doesn't know to edit the files, when they're first starting with World Edit, they'll come into that and just be like, I only have like 5 saves and then it forgets everything. And then they, yeah, end up getting frustrated with it. And that's why, is because it's trying to save your... It's trying to be conscientious of people who are not tech savvy and maybe don't have the best computers to work with to run it on. Sorry, I'm just putting in more stone where it needs to be stone. Oh, that was not right. There. Got it. Yeah, good enough. Alright, now we can texture that away. Actually, that's a core shadow right there. It needs to be darkest right there. And then it starts to lighten up around the edge there. There. Okay. Main issue with trying to do this by hand is I will take forever to get some of this done, because I am a perfectionist. I will take ages to get things done just because I want them to be done to the highest quality that I can get it. But then what that means is that I spend ages on something, and that was always my problem in even in school and stuff, doing college. They had give you, alright, here's your deadlines, you gotta get in like 50 paintings by this date, and you're like, and so then next thing you know, you're whipping out terrible paintings, and I could not I did not have the heart to do that. And so that's one of the reasons I ended up dropping out of college, is because of that expectation. But unfortunately, it's a little bit of that expectation with running a YouTube channel as well, because then people are like, Shells, you haven't posted anything in 8 months. Where are you? And yeah, you lose subscribers. Right now my channel is at basically an all-time low because it's taken me so long to do anything. I'm an artist. Yeah, well, that's... Some people that are willing to put out art in quick quantities, and I am not one of those people. And so yeah, it's gonna take me ages to get any of that done. Alright, that little hill is done. Apparently I need to do this embankment over on this side. And I missed some stone here, and I'm really worried about... I think I missed it because I'm worried about hitting the Temple of Time, so I'm going to go in and manually do this stuff. Nobody cares about this enough, I'm just going to make it all moss. Cool. Similar over here. This is more than what I should just mossify, so I'm going to try to slowly creep it up to the edge. Don't hit the edge, just creep it up to the edge. Something I'm hoping is that when this map does get released, the people who have been patient with me can appreciate the quality that goes into it. And that's something that I always hope with any of my art, is that, well, maybe the people who, you know, the people I'm trying to appeal to aren't the people who want just something to, you know, slap and say, oh yeah, I got something cool looking, but some of the people who can actually stand and appreciate the amount of effort that went into it, and that kind of thing. So that's always my hope. would like to start getting more videos out to you here soon, though. And I always say this every single stream. Yeah, I'm gonna get more out to you soon. And then I haven't done anything, but, you know. Hey, for those of you who watched my most recent video, what did you guys think? That was, one of the things that was nice about doing a bunch of pictures. I was basically doing keyframes for an animation. I wasn't even doing a full animation or anything. But the nice thing about it was that it was something that I could take to my son's taekwondo class. I just had a big ol' sketchbook, would draw a bunch of pictures for it all there, and then but so it took me months of just doing that, gathering sketches essentially. But then once I had the sketches done, it maybe took me a week or two to outline them all on. I've got a drawing tablet right here that I can draw directly on, so that's how I was, you know, sketching them out. Well, not sketching them. Taking the terrible sketches and outlining them, and stay. Right, let's not pick that up again. But yeah, so it only took me like 2 weeks to actually do the outlining and the animation part of it, putting it to on the screen. And I think towards the end I was also getting a lot faster at just like getting them done, just because I was more confident in doing people and stuff. I know I've talked about it before, but one of the things I've wanted to do is when I initially went to school as an artist, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to write graphic novels. And I also was interested in animation. I tried doing animation in high school. I was doing 3D animation. I wasn't very good at it, but I did try to do some of the 3D animation aspect stuff. But, train of thought, it's out the window. But I've always been intrigued by the animation stuff, but what I really wanted to do was I wanted to write graphic novels and do comics and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when I did try to like do a comic on my own, I did struggle with it a lot, just because it was doing a lot of drawing people, which honestly isn't my strong suit. Most of what I'm good at doing, as far as art stuff, is I'm really good at painting landscapes, which is very different than doing line art of characters. And what I specifically struggle with is the line art aspect of it. Trying to get, you know, I can do a sketch, but then trying to get out markers and draw precise lines, I really struggle with that. So this gave me a lot of practice doing that, which was kind of nice to see, and did build up my confidence in, like, my ability to draw people and stuff like that. So, in that regards, I do find that, you know, the video it didn't get the most views or anything, mostly because a lot of people who watch my channel aren't going to be ones who watch the life series. Some of them are, but not everyone, and I think that's why it just got a lot of people that just didn't watch it. But it's understandable. It's, you know, trying to show somebody, you know, hey look, I made this cool thing. Oh, you don't understand anything that's going on. Sorry about that. Totally understand. That's just weird. But, as far as, like, how useful it was for me, I think it was, good to build up my confidence and get, like, feel like I could actually accomplish something again. Recently I've been getting into that whole depression slump of, I don't actually finish anything I start. Meh. I think like I'm getting too many of these as core shadows. I need to back off with some of these core shadows and kind of introduce more mid-tones into this, I think. Because, yeah, this is a kind of a on that slant. You look at the direction, but it's not, you know, there's going to be some ambient light hitting it, and I don't want it all to just be black. So I need to tone it down a little bit here. That one's definitely core shadow right there. Oops. But then this one is not. But yeah, part of me hopes that people will look at my video anyway, just because I did put in a lot of effort into it. Please watch my video! But yeah, if you're not familiar with the live series, you don't have to watch it. Success can't be measured by the traction you get. Yeah, that's very, very true. Sometimes artists can create something unbelievable to look at and won't get noticed until much, much later. And that's one of the problems with just being an artist anyway, is that, you know, sometimes you spend, like, an eternity doing this really masterful thing, and then it gets no notice whatsoever, and then other times you're like, fine, I'll slap something together and post it, and then that one gets all of the love. I actually had that, experienced that a little bit. I used to have a DeviantArt page. I say used to, but I think it's, oops, this is supposed to be highlight, not shadow. I think it's still running, but I haven't checked it in years, so I don't think it's not exactly up to date or good or anything that I would recommend you look at. In fact, I'd say don't, because I haven't managed it at all. But, you know, I would post all of my nice landscape paintings, some of my more intricate works, and I'd get, like, nothing on them. And then at one point I did a Bleach fan art thing that was just, like, it was not even fan art of just Bleach, it was fan art of somebody else's fan fiction, that I ended up doing some artwork on. And constantly, that was the only thing that got pinged for comments or likes or anything, and I'm just like, but real art over here. And at one point I took that, the Bleach thing, and I put it into my scraps section in the hopes that people would stop looking at it. And that was what people looked at, and it was like, oh, could you not, like, can you look at some of the actual stuff I make instead of this terrible thing? But some of that has to do with fandoms and the like. People are more likely to look at stuff if they're familiar with it, which is why a lot of artists turn to doing fan art instead of doing something more original art, is because, well, fan art pays the bills a lot, and I get that. But, I've tried doing some of the commission work stuff, and I find that I just get so frustrated with it. It's just like, this isn't actually what I want to work on. And I have to be a little bit careful with that for doing these videos as well. You know, it's kind of like how I should be doing Rococo stuff right now. Instead I'm here doing Legend of Alex, because most of the people who are on my channel are looking for the architecture stuff that I'm building, because that's what I'm known for at this point. That's my more popular videos are the tutorials on how to do the architecture. And I get that, but also at some point I just get tired of only focusing on doing historically accurate stuff, when the stuff that I enjoy doing is fantasy stuff. So it's a give or take. You gotta do a little bit of both, and I'm happy to do the Rococo build. I'm really excited to do that one, but I'm just taking a little break from it, working on this instead for the moment. Partly because I can get a video done for this faster, and I really need to up the amount of videos that I'm making, so that way my channel doesn't die. Yeah, a lot of discussion to be made about the art thing in regards to algorithms that push your art in people's feeds and the user's retention over time. Yeah, and that was something that I found one of the reasons I kind of abandoned DeviantArt itself was because you would post something and almost instantly it would get lost in the sea of art, and some of the problem is actually because there's not any actual quality control with it. So you have people who are expert artists, have gone to college for art, do art for a living, versus the teenagers that are posting crappy sketches that they sketched in the side of their notebook during math class. Um, and if you go on to new, that's immediately what you're bombarded with, is a whole bunch of essentially the stuff that I would look at and immediately toss in the garbage can because it's not actually worth anything. But and I've done my fair share of that too, because hey, when I was posting on DeviantArt, I was that teenage kid that was posting random garbage that I sketched in the side of my margins in math class too. So, I get that there needs to be that outlet for people to show their creativity with that, but because there's just no way to sort through that very well, your stuff that is higher end sometimes just, unless you're already well known, it tends to go a little bit unnoticed. Alrighty then. I might add a couple more highlights. I've been really heavy on the darker end of things, and I think most of these are looking a little bit samey. So, like, that needs to be a lot brighter. It's gonna catch the light a lot more. Same with these? Yeah, what am I doing painting these all in shadows? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. This all needs to be brighter. This is what happens when I start talking and I stop focusing on what I'm doing, is I end up making stupid mistakes. Is that too dark over here then too? I think it is. So I think that can all be lit up a bit more and then start to darken it around there. Oh yeah, this bit. Some solid midtones going there. A bit of core shadow back here. It do be like that sometimes though. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm known for spacing off and end up making really dumb mistakes all the time, and some of it is because I have ADHD, so my focus sometimes, garbage. Oh well. You guys put up with me for some reason anyway, so I appreciate you guys for putting up with Shells being a silly goose. There we go. Alright, any more rocks that I need to take care of? Did I get them all? Some of the blending could use some work. made a stickman instead of a highly detailed character, people tend to be more appealed by the stickman. It's been scientifically proven. I mean, I'd believe it, and some of it is, like, you can have a stickman that is atomically correct enough that your mind jumps to it really easily. Yeah, but then if you're making a character by hand, and you goof up the proportions in just that little bit, it's kind of like the uncanny valley effect, where, like, you know, you start with something really simple, but it's easy to recognize. You're like, yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And then it starts to get a little bit more realistic, a little bit more detailed. Yeah, we're good with it. But then it gets too realistic, but just not quite realistic enough, and bam, that's the worst possible art you can make, is if you attempt to do something and it's just that little bit off, and then your brain goes, ugh, that ain't right. So, yeah, same thing could be said for art. I know I've been rereading a webcomic. I read this comic a long time ago, like back when I was in high school. And I'm rereading it because I never finished it, because it was one of those that was releasing every single day. And so I was keeping up with it, and then I just stopped keeping up with it and didn't read the end. So now that it's been years and years later, I started it over and am reading it all from the very beginning. But some of the art especially at the beginning, is just like, oh, you can see how much they progressed through it, but some of their first stuff was just like a little bit off and a little bit weird. And you're like, oh, some of those that's just that ain't right. And the particular author for this tended to, oh, that's gonna be a problem. He tended to try to do foreshortening, where if a character was putting a hand up in front, they would purposely try to draw the hand bigger, but they would almost overdo it to the point where it looked like itty bitty body, giant hand, and you're like, okay, that's wrong. So that's where some part of me is always just like, well, anything I make doesn't have to be perfect, because clearly these people were still successful and they were creating things that were, it wasn't bad, but it certainly could use some work. And I need to get over the sense of trying to make every little thing perfect. But I'm bad at that. Ambition can be a good thing and a nuisance if it isn't dosed well enough. Yeah, sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah. And I'm terrible at figuring out the fine line. That's where, again, my ambitions are always to create really beautiful pieces of art, and then I end up spending ages making them, and I shouldn't be spending ages making them. Whoops. I think this is my last stretch of doing rocks, and then I can do the water textures, and oh, I forgot about this rock. And then I will be done painting rocks, so huzzah! But yeah, as far as like what I'm planning on doing for videos next, I'm still going to continue working on the ever-present project of doing that Rococo build. That is I think one of the reasons that I haven't been releasing videos is because I'm just like, well, the next video I have to release has to be Rococo. I gotta build that. And it's taking me forever. And I knew it would take me forever. It's because Rococo is very, very detailed. It's like that on purpose. It is like the highest end of artistry you could get in architecture. Sometimes maybe a little bit overdone in that regards. But it's taking me so long, and I probably should have made my Rococo build like 10 times smaller just so that way I could finish it in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, that's between that and doing the terrain in Legend of Alex here is one of those reasons why everything just slowed to a crawl. But I am rapidly, even just this month, I think some of it is after I submitted my last video, I actually started losing subscribers. It's like, oh no, I should actually be producing something people want to watch. So I'm a little bit in panic mode in regards to my channel, just because I'm not performing as well as I should. It's a good sign that my project needs to be scaled down, or at least sequenced into smaller parts that get updated occasionally. Yeah, and it's my own fault, because for a Rococo build, all I really needed to do was build like a single oval room, and I have done that. I've already finished that, and then I could start filling it with statues and stuff, and then be like, look, this is all you need for a Rococo build, because a lot of like Baroque, especially Baroque builds, are just a single room. That's it. But no, I'm just like, no, but I need an extra layer of vault here, and then I want to do this, and then I want to do that, and then I came up with the theme that I'm doing for it, doing biblically accurate angels, statues, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm not finishing that in any reasonable amount of time. Dang. Oh, you're fine. Oh, I missed what Market's playing with said. Sorry, give me a second. Reading comments. Always wanted to make building videos of your Minecraft projects, and when you start one, I rarely finish it. Nobody would watch an unfinished building. That's not entirely true for the unfinished building thing. Case in point, this entire world, completely unfinished. It's, I think some of the problem is that a lot of current Minecraft YouTubers are like, we're gonna do an entire build in one sitting, and we're going to time-lapse it. It's done. And to be fair, I've done similar things. I had time-lapsed the entire build of the castle because I didn't want to have to slow it down and do it the slow and tedious way, because I didn't want to have to do the entire castle in 50 episodes. And it's also one of the reasons why I'm painting rocks with you guys, because while I'm spending hours on painting rocks, nobody wants 50 videos of Shells painted more rocks. Shells painted yet more rocks. More rock painting. Because people just want you to get on with it, they want to see something new. But then when you have a large enough build that you can break down into pieces, like, say, my town, so long as it has, like, a theme with it, I think it's okay to slow it down and break it down into smaller pieces. So, for instance, the video that I'm making right now, I've already started, talking about my scale stuff is all just talking about scale stuff, messing with command blocks, and I redid the town entrances so that way they are the size of that instead of the single Minecraft door. And I had to rework some of the buildings, especially for cases like this, where the door is directly in the middle. I had to, like, bump out the entire build there. That meant I had to rebuild a bell in there. I'm still not entirely happy with that bell, but, you know, things like that, where I had to completely revamp certain parts of my builds to accommodate for the extra large doors. And that's all my video is going to be on. Am I going to build anything else with it? Nope, because I'm spending enough time jabbering about command blocks and getting this door thing to work. You're trying to do a time-lapse of your latest project. Only 2 sessions made a video of 2 hours. That's a little bit of a problem in editing. Yeah, and some of the time-lapse stuff you can, like, try to, speed up certain parts that are less interesting. Like, if you're off doing something like, painting rocks in a little tiny corner, I'm not going to be focusing on it just to show my effort that goes into painting that little rock in the tiny corner when I could just not, and people won't care, and it's fine. So that's where you kind of have to, when you're making a time-lapse, you have to figure out what are people actually interested in watching me make with it, what should I be focusing on. I found another hole. Hee 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 hee. Actually, I think I need to do the stuff first. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, and I'm going to spend hours and hours just scouring the Legend of Alex map after I've got everything done, looking for really stupid stuff like holes. One of the other big thing is when I was making the terrain for the world, let's see if I can find an example of it really quick. I found this all over the place and I keep fixing it every time I come across it, and of course now I can't seem to come across any just at a glance here. But oh, here's something where there's just random stupid holes. You're like, I don't want a stupid hole there. Goodbye, stupid hole. And, well, this is kind of an awkward shape right here. Let's clean that up. So I'm going to have to, like, spend hours scouring the land, just trying to find things that need cleaned up because, you know, making things with while the Axiom and World Edit are such great tools, they miss a lot of stuff that's really dumb. And so at some point I'm going to have to just be like, okay, let's take a closer look, see if this is stupid or if I can just get away with leaving it. I also look at things like this spot here. This is incredibly rough. Actually, that's supposed to be that. But that doesn't look very clean or nice, and so I cleaned it up a little bit to make it look cleaner and nicer. And so that's where it requires a great deal of polish, and it obviously needs polish. And unfortunately, the problem is that with how big my world is, there's a lot of little bits like that that are just going to go unnoticed. I'm going to eventually just call it good enough, release it out in the world, and people are going to be like, hey Shells, I found a 2-block hole that I fell in and I can't get out. I've fallen and I can't get up. And I'm going to be like, oh, okay. The alternative option is doing AI garbage. Yeah, the thing about AI that is really problematic, and I've seen people talk about this, is that you look at a video and it could be a really cool looking video, but you, like, let's say the video is of somebody doing a cool little dance. The moment you put AI on it, it could be literally the same video, but if you put AI on it, it automatically cheapens it, because you know that that means that the person doing the little dance isn't actually doing the little dance. No skills were learned, no effort was put into it. All you did was plug in a prompt and it regurgitated something. Um, and so that's always the problem with AI prompts, is that it's human effort. If you are releasing garbage into the world that took little to no effort, then it's not going to be valued. And it could look exactly the same as something that somebody did put effort into, but that's not the point. The point that people care about is the effort that went into it. Yeah. I'm not sure what this tub is supposed to be. I really wanted a big tub of apples, but there isn't any block that looks like apples, and so we get a tub of beans and poop. This is supposed to be something that, like a little market stall that's selling fruits and veggies, but they don't really have any way to do fruits and veggies without, like, doing armor stands and stuff. Blue apples, ooh. These are moldy apples. I don't think you want to eat these. Beans. Yeah, they look like beans. Alright, so the reason I'm slowing down here is actually because I have finished the work that I set out to do. I don't think there's any more gaps. I suppose what I should do is do a fast spectator flyby and make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I forgot the water. Good thing I checked. Yep. I need to make a new brush and cover it with, yeah, do water stuff. What did I do for that texturing for the water? I think I just did a single brush. That was my water brush. To blend something in. I'm gonna make it with a netherite shovel. That's my brush. I think I took specifically grittier textures. So, yeah, it looks like I just have mud, blackstone, and basalt. Is that it? I think that is. I figure nobody's going to be looking too in-depth under the water. Maybe somebody will, but I don't care enough. We're gonna make a brush with a sphere, and it's going to be like 60. Well, they all seem pretty even is the problem between the three colors. I think I did do a more in-depth trying to shade it a little bit so that way the deeper parts of the water got more of the blackstone, but I don't think I care enough at this point to bother with it. So, yeah, even-ish amounts of three things, so it's just gonna be 33%. 33% of blackstone. Well, do I want to have something a little bit more? Yes, I think I've decided. We're gonna do 40% of mud, and then 20% blackstone, 20% basalt. I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna look terrible, and I'm going to hate it, I'm sure, but, 20% basalt. Actually, I think I want slightly less basalt. Basalt is gonna be the ugliest of them, so we're going to bump that up. Yeah, that's, I did my math right, right? 65. No. That did not do my math right. I think this was supposed to be 35. Right? No, it still doesn't add up. 25. That's what it is. Have I watched TADC? I'm not always familiar with acronyms. What does the acronym stand for? Oh, Amazing Digital Circus. Okay, yeah. See, I can recognize that and not the other. Oh, I need the size. Hang on. The size needs to be bigger because it needs to cut through the dumb water. There we go. Yeah, I've watched it. It's an okay show. I wouldn't say it's, like, up there as one of my favorites, but it's decent. I do like the company who made it. They seem like a good group that actually puts care into what they're doing. I don't want to accidentally color the walls. You need to in order to get through the stupid water. I'll have to get the edge of that later. So, I really like the company Glitch. They seem like it's a company that puts the artists first, and that's something I can genuinely appreciate. So the other thing Glitch related was the Game Overs, I think is what it's called. It's a new thing that they're releasing. My husband's really into it. No. So yeah, he's kind of got me into that. That's where he's aware of all of, like, what they do for artists and stuff like that. And in that regards, I can appreciate it. I think some of the humor isn't necessarily my thing, but I think some of it is almost like the callousness towards existential crises is a little bit off-putting for me, but otherwise I think it's fun. Then obviously they put in a lot of effort into it, and I can appreciate that a lot. I don't know, it kind of reminds me, with some of the flippancy behind it, it reminds me more of watching almost a Family Guy or something like that. I know it's not entirely accurate to that. Something that's nice about it is that it fills in a niche that is basically untouched right now, which is good animation that isn't for kids. Unfortunately, you see their marketing goes where people interpret it as being for kids, and so you find, Amazing Digital Circus stuff in the toy section in the stores that is obviously marketed towards kids, whereas the show itself is not something I would necessarily want to show to my 6-year-old. Well, he's not 6. My 7-year-old. That's but that's also up to, as with any show, it's up to the parents themselves and viewer discretion. Some parents are like super like, what is this? Don't let any children see it. And some people are like, oh yeah, I let my kid watch R-rated films. You obviously can't accommodate for that, but some of the thing where it's marketed towards, feels like it's marketed towards kids and it's not really a kids show, is something that is a little bit concerning for me as a parent. And that's where the best I can say is just, yeah, it's not a kids show. And I try to tell other parents, don't show it to your kids, it's not a kids show. And obviously, I like certain shows like the Mighty Nine and Vox Machina, which are also animation that you would not show to a kid. Please don't show it to kids. But, you know, it's great. The animation quality for it is really cool. They've got some cool characters. I actually appreciate Mighty Nine a lot more than I liked Vox Machina. I think the bard in Vox Machina ruined it a little bit for me. I don't even remember his name. I just remember that I hated him. But, you know, just the idea of animation is not necessarily a kid's thing, is actually an okay thing to have. What bothers me is when they market it, their marketing team makes it almost more like for kids. Oh, I guess there's some tough mixed in with it too in some places. Oh well. I think at some point I'm just going to have to go under, yeah, since I'm not able to grab this with the brush without accidentally getting the sides, I think I'm going to have to just, like, select the bottom, very bottom of the lake here and run a mass replace command. Ever watched Billy and Mandy as a kid? Somehow I never watched it, which is a real shame because I've heard it's great. And I need to go back and revisit that one. But no, somehow I didn't get that one. Some of this already has the texturing done to it, so I don't want to ruin it too much. Because I'm coming in with basically something very not specifically textured to... I'd like to get the deeper parts to look darker. So I like the texture I did over there versus the stuff I've been blending on over here. But this is good enough for getting bitsies. Yeah, I might just do a massive selection of this area. It kind of looks like there's some water issues as well, where I'm seeing water blobs occasionally. There's one big one right there that I just need to mass select a bunch of this and try to get it. The problem with the mass selecting is it's hard to isolate the exact river, but I think I can confidently say that everything that is under this Y level in the region is going to be underwater. So I might just have to do that. Go maybe just a little bit below that. That's why I'm trying to focus on the edges, so that way the very center of the water, I'm just going to make it one big dark section. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I think this is the limit here. I want to be able to, well, how much of that needs done? Oh, I just flat out missed some of this, didn't I? I can get it. Oh, that's why I missed it. Yeah, alright. So this one probably has to be its own section. Probably from, like, right here. Position 1 to here. And that will get all of it. Position 2. I think it's just... Oh, I might have to replace all of the Well, I can actually just say replace everything except water and air, right? Yeah. Oops. Need 2 slashes. With, like, let's say, I don't know. 60% mud and 40% blackstone. That's a problem. That looks awful. There's a line there. Maybe I should do the exact same percentages that I had before, which was like 40% mud with like 35% blackstone and 25% basalt. Yeah, alright. Still a little bit of a line right here, isn't it? Oh, that just looks like stuff I need to actually nab. It looks a little bit strange around that edge. I suppose that's why the gradient is supposed to be there. I'm almost wondering if what I do is I'll accept that that's not part of the gradient. Maybe if I make it purposely darker once it hits the water, maybe that'll blend better. Yeah, there we go. I think I need to make the brush just a little bit bigger. Just so that way I can get further under the water with those. Oh, and then I just blend it better on the top. There we go. Yeah, if I do... Oh, there's some grass texture under here. That's why it's causing me grief. What do I sacrifice? Probably won't need that. Away with you, grass! There's some grass down here too, but I'm gonna snag all of this with my my grabby tool thing. Going down here, position 2, and that one. There we go. Yeah, that looks a little bit janky right there, but it's because it's not blending at all. How much do I want to manually blend that? Not very. Let's see here. If I decrease the size of this one to like 5, and I sit next to it, then I can kind of nab some of that. Okay. Good enough. I probably should have gotten that a little bit less. Oh yeah, this thing. This little strip. Something that I plan to put right here in this spot is I plan on put a grate that leads from there to there. I just have to make sure that it's thin enough that the player can't just like swim out of town. because that would be sad. I don't want them to leave town, at least not at the very beginning. When they first spawn in the game, I'm going to have all of the portcullises shut, and that way the player can wander around town. They could wander around on the top of the walls and through all of that, but they can't actually leave the town. And that's where I'm trying to make sure that they can't just like jump and hopefully they'll take enough fall damage that they'll die from that height. If not, I'll probably have to stuff a bunch of barrier blocks up there to prevent them from leaving, because they can get up onto the wall here. But I'd like to ideally put in some grates. Some of the weird bit is this is terrible for lighting up, because right there is where I would want to put the grate, right where the pier is, and it doesn't make sense to have a pier interrupted with an archway. Architecturally, the archway should go over here and over here. So maybe I just won't bother with a grate, because I done goofed and accidentally put a pier right in the middle of the water. Unless I have two itty bitty little arches there, but I don't think so. This does bother me more than I'd like. I put this too high up on there. So we're going to try to square it away. Some of the basalt can stay, but the that black stone is just too dark for right there. It's still too dark. Making too even of a boop 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 pattern, so let's break that up a little. There we go. That's better. Okay. Did I get all of the water then? Oh, nope. No, there's gonna be this section in here. Can I get that safely without touching the walls? Debatable. Oh, that's right, I decreased the size of the brush. That's why it's only barely touching the bottom. I could try to get most of it then, doing that. The moat is thankfully not too deep, so hopefully I can nab it all. No, I didn't mean to touch color the wall! I did it again! No, you're not supposed to be black! Oops, I'm putting more mud. That one. Some bits of that are okay, but not the whole wall. Sure. I'm trying to decide if that bothers me enough. That little M right there bothers me enough. Shoo, go away. Alright. Back to painting this. See that section of water? Too deep for me to reach, and I don't really want to color the walls, and I don't want to color those rocks. So I should probably just do my selection tool thing. I'll try to get what I can first. I cannot get that deep, apparently. And that's getting the wall too much, isn't it? Yep, got the wall. The drawbridge and the chain was a recent addition. I was kind of happy that I got that in. And it looks cool. I'm happy with how the chain turned out. This all looks like it's all been textured already, so I don't have to worry about this. Okay. Time for this little section here. Wonder if I could just... Swim speed. Let me down. Here, stop that. Alright. I don't want to accidentally get the wall, so... Section 2. Ah. Not the most efficient way of doing this, I know. It's kind of another awkward hole that I can fill a little bit. This stuff I should probably just mass grab it because it's going to take me ages to do it by hand. There we go. Oh no! That's not what I wanted. There. And up to here. I know it's not the most interesting thing to look at somebody hand texturing something, which is one of the reasons I try to avoid doing it on stream, is because nobody wants to watch it. But sometimes it's better than using the tools, because then I can get something more accurate to what I want, instead of trying to finesse making the tools work for me. There, that's a much better gradient on that section. And that. The moat here is complete, I think. Hooray! That's all done. Oh right, this section needs done. Alright. I'm gonna first fix this water issue. I know how to type commands, totally. Poof, it's gone. Alright, now for the other bitsies. Probably something like this deep. Position 1, 2. We're just going to cover all the way over to here and delve into the ground. Position 2. And do our replace command. There. I I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to be able to get with my brushes here. I think I might have to manually fix some of this gradient. I always have two modes. Either I'm talking too much while I'm streaming, or I'm not talking enough. So, I apologize for going a bit silent on you guys here. Okay, I think this side's good enough. It didn't get too messed up, so I'm not worried about that. This little stretch of moat here is going to have to be fixed, though. Oh, and that little pocket is awkward. Alrighty. I think this might be the last bit. Maybe I see more over there. Never mind. I lied. Position 1. Spectator mode. Oof. This is kind of a large section. Oof. This is a huge section. Question is, do I just select all of it and call it good? Maybe. Question 2. Yep, and then we'll have to run clean up on stuff, because a lot of that edge is not right. There's some weird stuff going on there too. I could get this brush deep enough. Maybe if I just run along underneath the water and run this brush. That would be easier than trying to do all of this by hand. I purposely picked this texture for under the water because it gave the crunchy, rocky textures, but it blended well with my existing stone textures, so that way they could be gradiented together well enough. So that's where I'm not sad to just spam some of the stone texture here to blend it. I think that's better than trying to hand do all of this and much pain and suffering for a bit of the map that nobody's going to bother swimming under this water. Almost guarantee it. Partly because I don't think I'm going to be putting anything under the water. I do plan on having like a boat mini game where you start from like Zora's Domain and ride a boat down the water, but that's on top of the water, that's not down in the water. And the other reason to go in the water would be to use the Water Temple's item, which is the trident with Riptide on it. So you use the water to propel yourself forward, basically. But otherwise, I don't think I'm going to have any purpose for being underwater here. Partly because I don't like underwater mechanics. I suppose I could do stuff like, you know, swim through the rings. I certainly have enough space for it, but I don't know how much of that I actually want to do. Just because I care about this a little bit more, I'm going to clean this texture up. Get rid of some of, I accidentally put too much of the underwater stuff up here. And this spot right here is right behind the Temple of Time, and I'm planning on having the Elden Bridge right here. So I don't really want there to be terribleness. Things that look out of place. So, oh, I am working with tuff, so let's do some stone down here. Some of it being darker around the very bottom is fine, but the darkness creeping up over the rocks is not fine. Especially under these spots where you can see the clay where it's clearly supposed to be a highlight and not a spot of darkness at all. Alrighty. Did I get it all? We'll do a... Oh. Maybe do some bits down there. Just blend. That's good. Alright. I'm gonna go into spectator mode, do a quick flyby of the area, and make sure there aren't any obvious spots that I missed. If it's not obvious, I'm not going to bother with it because most people aren't going to notice. They're not going to be looking at my texturing and say, "You did it wrong, this looks bad." Unless it's like obvious that it's bad. This is stuff that was already textured before, so I don't think I need to worry about it too much. But I'm going to do a quick flyby anyway, because then it leads through. Oh. Well, there's something to fix. This is unrelated to what I've been doing, but apparently my wall here is brokey. Right. Let me make sure I'm getting even with this. And down into the ground. This one I'm going to do a percentage thing. We're going to say set 60% muddy stuff. Muddy mangrove roots. 10% acacia. And then 30% of the gray terracotta. That's why I had gray terracotta on my head as a as an option, because it's part of the wall texturing. That's more blocks than should have been nabbed. Undo! Undo! What did you do? Did I screw up? Alright. 0.1. Oops. Actually, do that one. Did I accidentally do a point? No, I did position 2. Oh, I guess that is like 52,000 blocks. That doesn't feel like it's that many blocks. Why is it that many blocks? And it's lagging, which tells me it's not doing what it should be. That's not adding up in my head. Because that's only like 324. That shouldn't be the absurd amount of blocks. Yeah, it should have just done that. Bam. Did I just select it too much? I don't know. Yeah, go in here. Go in here. Position 2. Only like 500 blocks. Uh-huh. I don't know what I did wrong there. I must have done something wrong though, because that was not right. Perfect. Is that the only thing I had to fix on this wall? Something looks weird right here, but I think that's actually right. It's just like makes this little nook, but I think that's okay. I think that's just because of the way that pier is like just right next to the tower, but not actually merging with the tower. Looks weird. But that's just the way I built it, not necessarily a thing that's wrong with it. Okay, we already checked. This looks fine, this looks fine. I think we did it, folks. I think we have a functional moat that I've colored all of the rocks I intended to color, and the terrain looks decent enough. I'm a little bit unhappy with just how much of that is the darker color, but I did that all over the place back over here, so yeah, whatever. It gets darker towards the bottom. It's fine. Yay, hooray! Alright, well, I've been debating whether I need to, just after I finished the rocks, I was debating whether I should switch to doing my Rococo build, but I think that at this point, I'm not sure I want to switch gears entirely, so I think I'm just going to it's been a good almost 2.5 hours, so it's a decently long stream, just covering the stuff I've done here for Legend of Alex. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed me just doing cleanup stuff, and hopefully I can get out videos to you. Again, I have one in progress that's talking about scale problems, so yeah. Thank you so much for coming. It means a lot that you guys come out here to, you know, spend your Saturday afternoon to come watch me stream, so that means a lot. So thank you guys. So yeah, look forward to scale video coming out soon. After that, I'm going to try to start making a forest video to start putting trees in here, and then the terrain stuff is done for Legend of Alex. I can start putting in my builds and then actually building more stuff, and that's what I'm most excited about, is building all of the temples and stuff, and we can start doing things with command blocks to make them functional and that sort of thing. So yeah. And as far as the Baroque and Rococo stuff, that is, as always, in progress, so I'm sure you will see me again next month. I always stream at the first Saturday of every month, so look forward to that. I will be working on more Baroque and Rococo build then, and hopefully I can get that done in the next couple of months. I say that like this because no guarantees, but yep, thanks again. Talk to you later. Goodbye!